Now it's time to speak about app development. And we will take one of the analytical apps that I showcased earlier and add action to that app so that we can not only inspect statistics in interactive way, but we also can take some images of interest and move these images to some other project. So let's start. Before I jump to implementation details of the app, let me say that there is a developer portal available and it contains quite a lot of information and more detailed explanation how to create your custom apps, how to set up environments, how to work with Supervisely SDK. So I highly recommend you to use it as a source of information when you work with Supervisely. Okay, my goal here is to illustrate how we can take an existing app and modify its functionality so the app is more useful. And I will illustrate that process with this interactive object distribution app that we have already seen. So I run this on top of this small project with lemons and kiwi fruits. So let's run this app and let's run a very specific version of this app. So recall that apps in Supervisely are just GitHub repositories. And I have my special branch here called YY modifications. And I will use this branch for demonstration purposes, and also I will do all the modifications in this branch. So let me first run this app. Let's open it. We have already seen it. So we will analyze very small project with just 6 images. If I click calculate statistics, I will get these distributions. And for example, this cell tells me that there are 2 images where there is exactly 3 kiwi fruits. So if I click here, I will see these 2 images and I can preview each image that satisfies this condition. So what I would like to do next is to add a button here that will allow me to take the images of interest and copy it to some other project so that I can further analyze these images. So let me probably close this tab for now, and I will go back to projects and I will copy the identifier of this project because it will be useful for me when I will show you how to debug and modify the app. Let's take a look at the source code of this app in Visual Studio Code. So here is my branch, and this app contains just 2 Python files. So this stats.py just contains some functions that actually calculate statistics, and we are not very interested in that file. We will consider main.py file first. Before I run, debug and modify this app, let me spend a minute just to explain the structure of the code here. So first we import some libraries, and among these libraries we see Supervisely library as well as certain widgets from Supervisely library. So then we will load some environmental variables that will, for example, specify the following. So recall I copied the ID identifier of the project, so I have to make sure that essentially I paste the same identifier here so that when I debug, I work with that project, with this lemon project. So these 2 lines just load these environmental variables that also responsible for defining some connection settings and some other settings. You can read more about that in developer portal. And then I create this API object. And this API object will allow this code to communicate with Supervisely. Then we will just get the projects from the server, and then there will be some code to create widgets. So, for example, this line of code create a button with the caption of calculate stats. So, and let me outline the code that is responsible for this widget. So this code create just widgets, and then we use containers to define some layouts so that components looks in kind of visual appealing way for the end user. And then we also have to handle some events. So we want, when we click on the button, something happens. So for example, here we have a button, and here we have the event handling procedure. And also we may click on some other components, like for example these chart components with statistics, and we also have to handle that clicks. So let me do the following here. I will just probably put some breakpoints here on the events so that you can see how the app is actually working. And I will just run that app. Okay, I just need to click here to open this app locally, and I can click calculate stats, and then this code is responsible to process this event when I click this button. So it just calculates statistics first, and then put the statistics into this widget called chart. Okay, probably I should put the breakpoint here and just run. So you see, like here in this variable lines, we have the statistics calculated, and we put this content into this visual component. And if I run that, you see that this table, this chart component is populated with the numbers. And then if I click, say, on this cell or in this cell, another event will be triggered. So let's click, and here we should handle this event and show the list of images that match the condition in the cell. So let me just probably run that. So you see, now we have these two images that correspond the condition, and then if I click preview, I will also drop into this event handling procedure that just shows that just will show labeled image that I selected. So let me run that, and here you see the image that I selected is shown. If I click again, I will get here again, and probably let me run it again. So here is another image. So the next thing that I would like to do is to add a button here, and I would like to do it in a way that whenever I click on the button, the selected image that I see right now is copied to some other project. So let's do that. So probably I will close this tab and go back to the Visual Studio Code and stop. Okay, let's add the button. I will do it actually in step-by-step fashion. So probably the easiest way for me is just to take the button that is already created and just create, based on that, a new button. I will call it differently, so I will call it, say, copy button, and I will specify the text for this button, say copy image, and maybe I don't need an icon here, so I will leave it like this. Okay, and I will also put this button into the container, so that here is a vertical container here, and I will just append this button here as a last element in this list. So let me save this code and run this again to see what we have achieved. Again, I can just click here and open this app locally. And you see, here is the button, copy image. And the app will, okay, probably I have to just kill all these breakpoints. So let's go back. So this app will function as usual, with the exception that there will be always a button here. And the next thing that I would like to do here, probably I don't want to see this button all the time. So maybe I would like to see this button only when I have some image selected and I can essentially see the image. So let's modify this code so that the button is shown whenever, only in the case when we can actually click on this button. Okay, let's close this tab again and go back to the Visual Code and stop. Okay, so here is this button, and probably I should just hide it straight away. So and I just want this button to be shown only when I click on a specific on a preview for a specific image. So only in this case I want to show this button. And when I click on the table with statistics and no image is selected, probably I should hide this button. Okay, let's save that and run the app again to see what we have achieved. I'll just run that. Okay, let's see. We don't see this added button. That's good. We click calculate statistics. No button. So we pick certain cell. No button. And we click preview. So we see the image and the button. And if we click on the table again here, the button will be hidden, and now the button is shown again. The next thing that I would like to do is to make this button useful. So I would actually like to take this image and copy that to some other project so that I can later inspect those images. So, okay, let's probably close it. Go to Visual Studio Code here. Stop this app. And I will just paste here the code. I don't need comment here. Let me actually put a breakpoint here and later explain what's going on. So I will just run this app. Again, very similar procedure. Let me open it locally. Click calculate statistics. Say maybe you would like to select the image with 6 kiwi fruits. Click preview button. Here is our copy image button. Let's click on that. And here is what's going on here. So first we check whether the project exists. And in our case the project does not exist yet. And we create a new project and append, and we use the name of the source project and append this string, manually sampled string, to the end of this line. So the name of the new project will be lemons manually sampled in this case. Then this new project should contain the same meta information as the original one, and we also create a new dataset called, say, dataset1. And then we have to check that the image that we copy is not there, is not in this data set. And if it's not in the data set, then we can make a copy of this image. And we can put some message in the log so that image has been successfully copied or something like that. Okay, so let's run that and go back to our app. And if now I go here and refresh the page, what I will see is this new project created. Is that new project created, and this project contains this image that we have just added. And let's play with that a bit, and probably I could click, say, here. So I have here 4 kiwi fruits, and I can click on this button again. The same code will be executed. Probably I just run that. And if I go to this workspace and open this updated project again, I will see that now we have these 2 images. What I would like to do next is to save the changes and use this modified version of the app straight from here, straight from the web browser. So, okay, let's just close that. Go back to Visual Studio Code, stop the app, and just go and commit the changes. So let me call it like final version, and just click commit, sync changes. And now I can run this modified version of the app right from the web browser, and I'm gonna show you that process next. Okay, let's use the modified version of our app to analyze Pascal work. And what I just need to do is to run this app, but this time, as I will just go to branches and just pick the branch YY modifications, and I should expect to have the button that we have added there. So let me run that one. So I will open an app. Let us calculate statistics. We have around 3000 images here, so it will take several seconds to complete. Okay, and we have got this large table, and maybe we would like again to work with outliers. So I'll click here, I'll see the list of images, and I hope when I click preview button to see this buttons that we have added, and maybe. So we see a lot of buttons here on the background. So maybe I'll save this image, and maybe I'll also save some other images that has a lot of objects. So for example, this one. Again, let's click preview. So a lot of ships here. Again, let's copy this image, and probably I will copy some last one, maybe the image that has a lot of persons, in this case like 15 persons. Again, preview. So there are a lot of persons on the background, and let's just copy this image as well. So we have copied 3 images, and let's see what the result of our action. So if I go back to tasks and back to projects, I see this new project that was created a minute ago, and here in this project we will see the images that we have picked. So what we have achieved here is that we converted this purely analytical app to the app that actually allows us to take certain actions, namely to move the images around. Let me add one final note here. So the way I modified the app is not the only way, and for example I could go to ecosystem and play with private apps here. And again, I highly recommend you to visit developer portal and obtain and learn more information about app development and different options how you can create them.